Hello and welcome to another episode of Panel on Panels, the podcast about all things comics and comics related. I'm your host, John Campbell. Next to me, Mike Gargoni.
Greetings.
And next to him, Donovan Eilert.
Hi, everybody. Hopefully you've listened to our podcast by now. If not, don't listen to this one first. Listen to all the other ones before.
We're well into the show
Please.
at this point, so I don't...
I'm just saying they're probably stronger episodes. Having listened to this episode already,
Really?
I can say, yeah.
I didn't know you had that ability.
Yeah, my shitty mutant power is to listen to podcasts before they're actually done recording.
I want that.
But only once they've started recording, because then the causality collapses.
I see.
But you can listen before everybody else.
It's true.
Yeah.
But only slightly.
Only slightly.
Add that to the list of crappy mutant powers.
Yeah, we're building up. If you listen back to the episodes of this show,
We're going to make a
we've mentioned
t-shirt.
a few.
It's going to list all of them.
Oh, wow. Back and front.
Oh, man, yeah.
That's the only
There's
way
a
I wear
t-shirt.
t-shirts.
We're going to have a lot of t-shirts.
No, don't say that, John. We'll have a t-shirt.
We'll see. We'll see if we even have the one. So today we were talking about, of course we're talking about Batman, but more specifically...
When are we not talking about
We're
Batman?
always talking about Batman.
In one way or another.
Batman's everything.
I believe on an episode before we did say it all comes back to Batman.
Most of the time.
Yeah, it all leads back to Batman. But we're talking specifically about...
Scott Snyder's new... No?
No, we're going back before that. We're going back a little bit...
What is there before Scott Snyder?
He created Batman, right?
I'm pretty sure. Kane, Mr. What? I don't even...
No, we're talking about Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, and specifically their work on the books Batman the Long Halloween and its sequel, Batman Dark Victory.
If you've not read those, read those right now.
So if you could just go watch those comic books right now, that would be
with
great.
your ears,
Yes.
and then come back and listen to this because spoilers abound.
So we'll give you a moment.
Okay.
And here we go.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
So I'll come out with this up front. These are probably my favorite Batman comics written by anyone.
They're up there. I mean, there's a reason I own them.
They are, but...
There's just so much Batman that like you kind of have to pick and choose what you own.
No, there's a lot of Batman.
There's so much.
And more coming out every week.
And that's not even including like Batman adjacent stuff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, all the Justice League stuff, all the Superman, Batman stuff. This character's kind of popular.
Batman?
What?
Yeah.
Batman?
He's indie, right?
Pretty
I don't even
sure.
know who
Yeah, it's a
publishes it.
Vertigo character.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But I think a lot of what we're seeing in Batman currently comes from these books.
I think a large chunk of it, because I feel like these two books are what you might consider part of the like quintessential Batman stories.
Absolutely.
Like this goes in the same pantheon as Dark Knight Returns
Year
or
One.
Year One. But yeah, Long Halloween and Dark Victory. In terms of retelling specific stories that are important to the Batman canon, I feel like these are what you point people to when they want to get into Batman.
Absolutely. I mean, I think what's cool about them is they're not the origin story like Year One.
No.
But they're an early story of Batman.
Definitely.
I always felt like they take place like right after Year One.
It's within the first couple years of Batman for sure.
Because he still doesn't know who everybody is. He's still figuring out.
He's
a few
met enough
things.
of the villains at this point, but
mobsters are still a thing.
right.
They haven't totally been edged out by people like the Penguin or...
Right. And in fact, so much of these comics, and there's lots of dialogue in them about the freaks are taking over. It's the city's going down the crazy path that we'll see be Batman proper as we know it, and that you see now in stuff like the Snyder stuff, where it's just a crazy world of nut jobs and fancy costumes.
The way
taking
we
over
like
toy
it,
factories.
So many abandoned toy factories.
And Carnival Ground.
Yeah,
Carnival
and
grounds.
It feels like
ice cream factories.
It feels like
Yes.
you could just wipe out crime in that city by shutting down all the toy factories, carnival grounds, ice cream
But then you
factories,
shut down a steel mill,
joke
and they move
shops.
them there.
Well, all I'm saying is Bruce Wayne is rich enough. Why can't he just like every time a building gets abandoned, he buys it out, puts in like a little security system, just a webcam or something.
Just a little webcam in the
What
corner.
if you turn them all into
Boom,
like
there's
those
the Joker.
paint your own pottery kind of places for
Or
children?
just filled them in with concrete.
Yeah.
Well, it does seem like there's a lot of businesses that are failing in Gotham, and then nothing is coming of these buildings.
Well, they're simply left open for the supervillain crowd.
Exactly, yeah.
So if anything, the supervillain isn't an escalation from Batman, it's just a problem with the housing market.
Yeah. We better leave this open. The Riddler might need to use it someday.
I think there's supervillain like real estate agents. Like,
I like that
We're gonna
idea.
look at a lovely carnival ground today. Nah, I'm looking more for like abandoned toy factory. Oh no, we've got two of those as well.
Do you have an old chemical plant?
Oh, I love the idea of like Joker and Harley just out shopping for a hideout. What do you think
Now,
about this place?
This
The
has to
ventilation's
pass
not right.
inspection, and it is a little over your first bid,
Yeah.
but we'll see what we can do.
He's going to need to rob a couple more banks before he can afford it.
Add that to the list of genius comic ideas. I know that's a pretty short list, but
House Hunters Supervillains
I
edition.
feel like
Yes.
there's something here where it's like this is the guy who scouts out locations for supervillain hideouts.
There's a great Spider-Man comic by Straczynski about the guy who makes the costumes for supervillains. That's pretty fun. It would be in that kind of vein.
Yeah.
But no, I think these are pretty defining Batman comics. However,
yeah.
they're not as well known, at least outside of the comics community, as things like Year One or Dark Knight Returns. Those are a little bit more. People are pretty familiar with those, I feel like.
Yeah, but I think that's mostly because you've got two things: the origin story and what might be considered the last Batman story.
Right. Yeah, that is true. I mean, you've
Like
got
those are the bookends.
right. And he wrote them in reverse, which is cool.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's true. These are like defining moments within the guy's life. So that certainly does make them interesting in that sense that we're seeing a fully formed Batman, or at least for the most part. I mean,
Well, and it gives us these quintessential looks at these defining moments where it's like these stories have been told in the comic books before, like the origin story of Two-Face and like how Robin joined Batman. But I feel like these are the versions that
and what
other writers these days will go to as their go-to versions.
Yeah, what I like about them is that they are like Long Halloween is the origin of Two-Face, and Dark Victory is the origin of Robin.
Yes.
But that's not really what the comics are about.
No.
Those origins are buried within a larger story in both of them.
Well, and both of them have strong subplots.
Yeah.
that
So
all
many
over the place.
So many subplots.
Yeah, there's this is something I want to talk about. The storytelling style of both of them is there's sort of there's this large mystery in each of them. And then within that, there are the episodic, like day-to-day Batman kind of stuff of like, oh crap, Mad Hatter just broke out of Arkham Asylum and I have to go beat him up.
Joker stole a blimp.
Right, exactly.
Who keeps giving him blimps?
Right, and it's this cool sort of thing of what I imagine Batman's life is like, which is like, all right, there's a serial killer who's killing all these people in Gotham and he's striking on each of the holidays and stuff. But this other supervillain is running amok right now, so I
Right.
can't focus on investigating this because I have to go stop the Joker from blowing up everyone in the center of Gotham on New Year's Eve.
And I always enjoy those.
Yeah.
I always enjoy those Batman comics more than the singular sort of like, I'm going to solve one problem this entire time. And I think the very successful Arkham Asylum and Arkham City games kind of detail that as well. Of like, this is what you're actually doing, but you need to also take care of these people.
Also, guess
right
what?
now.
Killer Croc is kind of up in your grill.
Like right now, so figure that out.
Right, and it's something the movies can't really do because they inherently need to be more streamlined and centralized with a story.
I feel like the only one that kind of had that a little bit was Dark Knight Rises, just because there was so much going on. Like, this might not even be a strength of the movie, but like you got the whole thing with Scarecrow being the judge, and you got Bane running around, but that's a misfire, and like Talia al Ghul and Catwoman. Like, there's a lot going on in Dark Knight Rises.
There's a lot going on, but it's still pretty like point to point to point to point. It's not like
I said,
Scarecrow happens to show up and have his own plan while Bane's taking over the city. So I think that is something that's cool about the comic, and it's fun. It's almost like guest stars or cameo appearances in the comic. Where like,
you know what they would call
Joker's
that in a
this
movie
issue.
though? They'd call it sloppy writing.
Sure, they would. Yeah,
Whereas the comic book, we
that's what I'm
praise
saying.
it.
I'm not disparaging the movies for
Right.
not doing that. They don't have the capacity to do that.
Sure.
It's just not how movies are meant to go. But comics can.
Well, and it also depicts this idea that Batman is going around doing these day-to-day things, but he's always got these in the back of his brain. He's always still like trying to figure out this mystery.
Oh, he's
That's
the
what-
ultimate detective.
Exactly, but it's not like he just sits in a corner and thinks.
Yeah.
You know, like he's actively doing other things, and the logical side of his brain is still trying to figure
Well,
out
this
what's
is something
going
you
on.
talked about, though. I mean, you're talking about mystery. You're talking about detective. That's one of the main reasons I like these, which is they are mysteries at their core.
Oh, yeah.
And Batman is he was initially introduced as the world's greatest detective in Detective Comics.
And I think that Jeff Loeb writes the greatest detective stories in Batman. I know there's been some great stuff with Scott Snyder, and there's wonderful stories outside of this, but Jeff Loeb.
But that's something I feel like is one of Scott Snyder's strengths as well, is writing him as a detective, not just a guy who dresses as a bat who punches dudes.
Sure,
sometimes.
of course.
Right.
And they both do, but I feel like
Yeah, because he's not a vigil. I mean, there's vigilante aspects to him for sure, but he is an investigator first and foremost.
Yes.
a lot of times in comics, especially like right before and right after Long Halloween, you get Batman's supercomputer or whatever they call it, and
Right.
he's just like, I'm going to punch in this information. Oh,
Yeah.
here's my suspect. Here's
Yeah.
this. He doesn't do any of that in either of these. It's
That's
like
true.
actual nitty-gritty crime scene.
No bat
investigation.
computer quite yet.
I think there's a Bat computer, but it doesn't.
It's not the same.
Yeah,
It's microfiche.
yeah. The Bat computer is basically a Deus Ex Machina at this point in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like you type in the information and bam, there's all the things
Well-
you know, and here's where the Joker is.
Which,
now go fight. Yeah.
For an older Batman, makes a little bit of sense because he's cased all these things and he's got information taps
Yeah.
everywhere. But at this point, especially one of the first Batman stories, he doesn't
like-
have that resource.
Like Kingdom Come Batman is certainly very
He
focused
has
on
robots.
Yeah, he's just exactly. I mean, he's just at
He's
the computer.
he's Batman with drones.
Yeah, exactly. Which is interesting how much more pressing that is now.
It's
That-
true.
so-
Yeah. At the time, it wasn't. That was some sci-fi. Now it's like,
Right.
oh, I don't
Right.
even know about this.
So yeah, the comic. We can talk a little bit about the plots of these. We're assuming once again that people have read them, but
We gave them that moment at the
yeah,
beginning of
sure.
the
But I'm
podcast.
saying,
podcast.
I'm saying
Yeah.
let's talk about the mystery
Okay.
of like the Long Halloween. So in Long Halloween, you have
Long Halloween has one of my favorite misdirections in any mystery,
Yeah.
like novel or comic book or otherwise.
absolutely, which is the Alberto Falcone faking his death.
I was going to talk about the Gilded Dent thing, but yeah,
Oh, you're talking
There's
about that?
multiple misdirections.
there's so many misdirections in this comic.
Well, and at the end of the day, there's multiple answers to
That's true.
the mystery as well. Because I mean, like
Because
you were saying-
it wasn't just one person.
right.
Well, was it? Could it have been?
no,
No, I think
You don't
we
think so?
quite literally see multiple people committing the crime at the end of the book, don't we?
Sure.
Yeah.
I've talked to people who are still convinced that
It's all Gilda all the time.
or all
that-
Alberta all the time, and they've got logic somewhere.
The way I
find
interpret the ending is it's primarily Alberto Falcone,
Mm-hmm.
but one, maybe a couple are Gilda.
Which
Not
is-
because there's a couple of strange ones that
Yeah.
don't fit the pattern as
No,
much.
this is like an old 40s noir movie where it's like what was that one? The Big Sleep, where it's like, who shot this guy? No
because
clue.
I don't think we ever get an answer on why the Riddler isn't killed.
Yeah, no,
That easily could have been Gilda failing to be able to pull the trigger
sure.
at that point. You know,
Or Alberto being out of bullets.
was that April Fool's Day?
well, he shoots around the Riddler.
Yeah, that's true.
was that
the Ri-
April Fool's Day?
That's the April Fool's
Clearly
Day
the
one.
last
I
bullet
always
was meant for his
thought-
heart.
I always thought that was just a clever joke. That of
I mean-
course you're not going to actually go through something on April Fool's Day.
I don't know. I mean, that's
that was
one way
just
to read it. I
brilliant
mean, that's
writing.
sort of what it's chalked up to by the police in the comic. But one of the things is that Loeb doesn't give you an answer on that. It is very mysterious still, even at the end of by the time you get to the end of Dark Victory. you
Well,
don't
and
know.
a lot of Batman comics have the theme of like the Batman is a symbol, an idea, which he's the holiday killer in this is a symbol, is an idea, in the sense that there are multiple people doing that.
Yeah.
That's kind of and interesting. You get the crime side of that as opposed to just the Batman side of anybody can take up a mask and be good, or anybody could take up this mask and like as long as
It's
you've
not
got
even a mask. It's just like
Sure.
an act.
Well,
Right.
yeah, 22 and a rubber nipple, and then
Yeah.
you're good to go. Like,
yeah, which is
anybody.
certainly one of the more creative weapons I've seen in like a
Yeah.
serial killer
and
story.
very specific.
Yeah.
With like filed off serial number.
Right. Yeah, because they leave the gun behind, and it's the
Yeah.
taped up handle and the filed off serial number and the rubber nipple as a
Calling
silencer.
card.
Yeah.
When I go, I want one of you two to plant that in my house. Just however I go, I just want one of those just left there. So when people go dig through my stuff, they're like, the third holiday,
The third
killer.
holiday killer.
I'm not. That was not a
It's
confession.
the Arbor
by
Day
the way.
killer.
Yeah.
But Long Halloween very much also plays on. There's a huge mafia aspect to it as well.
Oh, yeah.
The best part.
which I think is always something I love in Batman, which is Batman is a detective in a gangster story. The noirish aspects of it and stuff. Even particularly in Long Halloween, there's a Godfather influence, especially with the beginning of
yeah.
it at the wedding.
It feels
Parents
like
knew my father. Kind
Right,
of thing.
right. Yeah, this whole thing about they owe a debt
Thomas
to Thomas
Wayne
Wayne
saved
because
my
he
life.
saved Carmine Falcone when
Yeah.
he was a kid and stuff. So yeah, there's that whole honor and family and the rules of this and the Falcones and the Maronis and you have this and you have that. And then they talk about the Vitis in Chicago. They've got that stuff. There's also the gangsters who run Metropolis. Those guys seem like they're screwed though. So I don't know. They've got a real problem. Batman's nothing compared to the guy they have to deal with.
You're right.
But I mean, that's something we've seen continue through tons of Batman right now into what's happening on the TV show Gotham.
Yeah.
Is very much inspired by this kind of stuff, particularly with the Falcone Maroni kind of.
Is that something I haven't watched anything past the 3rd episode of Gotham, so
Yeah, the Falcone and Maroni
they started down that path a
rivalry
little bit, but
is very present and is a huge part of the show. In fact, maybe the main part of it in a lot of ways. That rivalry between those two. And they're sort of weird, like they're willing to work with each other, kind of, but they kind of leave each other alone in a weird way. But then they will fight if it has to come to that. I think that's. You certainly see that in Nolan's movies as well, which I do want.
well,
You see it a bit.
You don't see the Falcone Maroni, but you
No.
you see the gang control of Gotham.
in the
Yeah.
first one, in Batman Begins, I feel like you see it the most.
I think it's in Dark Knight. I mean, because this is something I wanted to talk about, which is that the Long Halloween was sort of the primary influence on the Dark Knight.
see, you keep saying this. I don't. Where are you pulling this thought from?
Well, Nolan's introduction to a collected version of Long Halloween.
Is that
Yeah,
okay?
I mean that's in. I mean,
Okay, I don't know.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, it's once again like all the Dark Knight movies.
It's kind of like Frank Miller reading The Spirit and being like, "I know how to make a movie out of this."
It's not like that because I don't think it just veers as far away as that does. But
no, but
what
it's a stretch.
what's the primary influence? It's not a direct adaptation. He's not saying
Sure.
watch my film version of the Long Halloween. He's
Of
saying
course.
when you look at Batman, there's so much to pull from. The
Yeah.
thing he pulled the most from was
Thematically.
Long Halloween. I mean, particularly the arc of Harvey Dent from the White Knight of
Sure,
Gotham
sure.
to Two-Face.
Yeah, and I can definitely see that.
Yeah, I mean this.
But that's not the only graphic novel that depicts that.
No, but I think also something that's
But
really
this is certainly one of the more well-known.
something
ones.
that's very key in Long Halloween is the triumvirate of Batman, Dent, and Gordon, which is key to Dark Knight as well. I mean, right
Yeah.
up to the scene on the roof of police headquarters where they vow to bring down organized crime. That's that's a direct pull from Long Halloween that's in Dark Knight. The whole running thing of I believe in Harvey Dent is the running thing throughout Long Halloween. If I believe in Gotham, I believe in Harvey Dent, I believe in whatever. It's a running thing throughout.
You got me, John. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's.
I don't concede that.
This idea, I also think this idea that the Joker is like a continuing menace of chaos throughout the two without being perhaps the central figure of the story. I mean, he kind of ends up becoming that in Dark Knight, but throughout the beginning of it, he's just this like nuisance
Right.
that they keep having to stop. So I think there's
Who is this guy with all of these knives and explosives?
right. I mean, and that's very much the case in Long Halloween. He's just like blowing shit up. And
Well, in Long Halloween, the Joker's just being the Joker.
right, he takes on. I mean, if
I don't
anything, they
think
borrow-
at any point in the story he becomes a central bad guy.
No. I think he does more so in Dark Victory. He becomes very much so actually, and I feel so. That's why I feel like certainly they pulled a lot. I mean, a lot of the Joker stuff they pulled from Killing Joke too,
Definitely.
in Dark Knight. So I mean, there's a lot of influences, but I think the central thematic aspects of Dark Knight are pulled heavily from Long Halloween, and Nolan and Goyer have both talked about that.
I'm sorry, I'm just
For
flipping
sure.
through Dark Victory, and I got to a page where it's the Penguin, and God, wah, 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 wah.
Yeah.
Him with his horrible little shark teeth.
Yeah. Speaking of shark teeth, let's talk a little bit about Tim Sale's artwork and his renderings of these characters, which is
For the most part, I really love it.
okay. So
For the most part,
Amendment to that?
Penguin.
you don't like
His
Penguin?
penguin is super weird. I feel like.
All of his villains are very weird. I mean, we were talking.
I think he
his
nails
costume.
like Solomon Grundy and like Two-Face is just so good.
Yeah.
I like his Riddler as like this wispy little like he's easily the smallest character in all of the books.
You see it. Everyone towers over him. Mm-hmm. I mean, Sale's Catwoman and particularly Selena Kyle is one of my favorite versions of that character. Mm-hmm. Almost more so when she's not in the Catwoman outfit, but just the way he draws her and there's a sultriness about her that's different than a lot of other people.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, there always is to a certain
Yes.
extent, but he renders it in a specific way that you can also see in the Catwoman comic that they did.
well, and it looks very, to me, intentional that people outside of costumes look really normal, like there's a realism about them, and then as soon as there's any kind of costume, they go to these like heightened, extreme examples, including Batman and Catwoman when they're in their costume, and then when they're out, they look like
Yeah.
normal people.
Yeah.
It's
No, I mean it's this dichotomy that's in Sale's artwork in general, which is he's highly detailed in a lot of ways and very realistic, especially if you look at the way he renders faces and the lines and shadows of stuff. But then he's also very expressionistic, and you look at the way he draws the Joker with the giant teeth. That I mean, it's impossible for anyone to have a mouth that big,
But it's the Joker.
but it's the Joker. So it's very interesting. He walks this line that I think really works between these two kinds of art styles, and makes it so uniquely him. And when you see Tim Sale artwork, you know instantly what it looks like. I mean, he did all the artwork for the show Heroes, and you could see that right away. That's Jeff Loeb was one of the writers on there. I mean, they've had this running relationship for years, of course.
Are they bringing him back for the reboot of Heroes? Do you have any idea?
Loeb?
Yeah,
I doubt it. He's too busy at Marvel.
that's true.
I don't. They might bring Sale back in some capacity. Maybe I don't know. I mean, that character died.
and most
Spoiler alert for season 1 of Heroes. But,
Batman
whatever.
Batman comics are always
Watch Heroes or don't. I don't care.
yeah.
No. Watch the first season of Heroes.
Yeah.
First season of Heroes is really good.
That's true.
Then completely ignore the rest of the show.
Yeah.
It's a good first season show. You get a lot though with in Batman comics the very heavy shadows and like overwhelming kind of dark presence.
Yeah, it's
there.
noirish in that.
But-
He's a noir kind of
I
character.
feel like Tim Sale specifically nails that noir, like gumshoe shadows, but you can still see what's going on there. And
Yeah.
like the
Some of my favorite drawings of Batman is the like bits with him in the cemetery, like watching the funerals of the mafiosos.
yeah, Sale
Like
Sale
him
does a lot-
lurking on top of the sepulcher, just like
Right. There's a lot of cool stuff that the Sale draws him in trees, and he's present in a lot of scenes where he doesn't announce himself. I mean, he feels like Batman in that way, which is Batman would be a character in the shadows, always watching. He's always on rooftops. He's, in that sense of that for sure. And I think a big thing about what you're talking about with the shadows and stuff. Yeah, I mean, looking at this drawing, which you can't see, but
great podcast.
What
But
page is that?
this is page 20 of the Dark Victory trade.
so you can grab that and look at it if you want.
But it's Batman lurking on top of like a little
But I mean, Batman is all
tomb,
silhouette,
but he's
except for
all
the-
silhouette except for the symbol,
right,
and his eyes.
Yeah, which is really cool. And I think a big part of what you're talking about with the shadows and that kind of stuff is that Sale inks his own stuff.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I mean, when he's penciling, he has those shadows so clearly in mind because he's his own inker in that sense. I mean, I've actually seen him at conventions, and I went to his table and watched him
draw.
I watched him draw a picture of Batman, and I watched him pencil it, and then he was inking it, and
That's
it was
really awesome.
it was really awesome to see that happen, and to see even he was just doing a sketch in a little notebook, and you could see he did a thing where he put a line of ink, and then he took a damp cloth and smeared it and created this dark background, and it was just with minimal supplies he was able to create a very moody and atmospheric Batman drawing.
He actually has drawn one of my favorite pictures of Batman, and that's also in Dark Victory, and that's him about to go into the sewers at the start of chapter 4 of that. Just like the lines with the rain coming off of him, and the shadows and the light coming up from the sewer is just so freaking cool.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you look at the covers of these comics, they're also
So striking.
really good. The I think it's the April Fool's Day issue that has the Riddler cover is probably my favorite in Long Halloween. Just he does this thing with a green background and the Riddler's like bleeding into it. Also, his Poison Ivy is really nuts.
Oh yeah, with the like weird plant hair.
Yeah, I mean she's just spreading plant leaves everywhere she goes behind her and stuff in this crazy way. And that, I mean, yeah, then that's another cool thing is like the Poison Ivy thing, like we were talking about. Just it goes off on these tangents where it's like for these 2 issues, Bruce Wayne's being mind controlled by Poison Ivy.
Why? Because reasons.
He always
because
is.
yeah, I mean it's just like the story has the line it's going down. But then it veers off of here and veers over there, and it does this. And
Well, it's what makes both of these stories so cool. Mm-hmm. Like we've got all of these through lines, but then we've also got these little. I mean, we've said this, but we literally just said
right,
this.
yeah, no, but I'm saying like because
Part of what makes these 2 collections so
Iconic.
iconic,
Yeah.
because they're a good cross section of like a large swath of the Batman universe.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're like Ra's al Ghul's not here, and like there are bits and pieces of
Sure,
like
sure,
important canon that we don't have. But at the same time, we get like the vast majority of his rogues gallery shows up at one point or another.
Quite a bit of them. I mean, if you look at the end of Long Halloween when Two-Face breaks everyone out of Arkham, and they're all like almost all of the rogues gallery is just sitting in Carmine Falcone's office waiting for him.
Yeah,
which is a great drawing. Again, by Sale. And if you also look at the way Sale uses panels, it's fascinating. Sometimes he'll spread out one image across two panels. He also, and Nolan talks about this in his introduction to the collected version, and it has such a cinematic style to it. There's
has there ever been a motion comic of Long Halloween or Dark
not that
Victory?
I know of. I don't think so.
That seems like an obvious thing.
I mean, because he has cuts in it like a movie. I mean, there's all these things where he's like when he does transitions, he has movie-like transitions where he's matching images and stuff. And there's one of my favorite parts of Dark Victory is the sort of the dual narrative where you see
with Robin's flashbacks.
Yeah, with Dick
man.
with Dick Grayson in Thomas and Martha Wayne's bedroom with the hairbrush, and then you're flashing back to the same position of Bruce Wayne and Alfred.
Yeah,
and they're just flipping, and even the dialogue is the same. It's this mirror image of these two.
That actually has one of my favorite Alfred parts in like any Batman comic, and that's Alfred sort of realizing that he may have failed with Bruce to a certain extent, and trying to not do that with this new boy that is under his care.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think this leads us into I want to talk a bit about Robin, which is obviously a huge part of Dark Victory. Although reading it again, he doesn't show up till over halfway through that comic, and Robin's origin of his parents dying is dispensed in 2 pages with no dialogue.
Oh man, you're gonna make an impact,
right? It's so subtly and beautifully done.
What I think the point of that was, though, is like the story had been told before. How many times? Because when did Dark Victory come out? Early 2000s.
It was 99 and 2000. The 13
2000?
issues were published over.
So at that point, we were already into our like third Robin at that point in mainstream Batman.
Oh, definitely, very much fully into Tim Drake.
Yeah, so like the whole Dick Grayson thing had been like long established.
Sure.
So like that's
the animated series had already been on, which their telling of the origin story is great.
Right. So like this isn't a story we necessarily needed retelling again, but it's still a moment that I feel needed to be pointed at and given weight that it didn't necessarily get the first time through.
Yeah. Well, I mean, something, if you read Sale's introduction to Dark Victory, he talks about, and I think this is a common statement about Robin, is Robin's silly. Why would Batman have Robin?
Yeah.
Do you think, and I think Dark Victory, I'm going to pose this as a question, but then I'll just tell you what I think, which is, do you think Dark Victory legitimizes Robin in some way? Because I think it's probably the best like reasoning, or I mean, it feels the Robin
for
feels
Dick Grayson, yes.
For Dick Grayson, yeah.
Yes, I feel like there's no justification for Jason Todd.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But Tim Drake went out of his way to track down Batman. Like that's his whole backstory is like he's so smart and so like the next detective that he's going out of his way to track down Batman and figure out what's going on there. That like I think Tim Drake justifies himself.
Yeah.
I think Dark Victory justifies Dick Grayson.
For sure. I mean, Dark Victory has this theme of, I mean, I think even if you look at the back of this, I want to get this right, it says he must do this alone. And that's sort of the mindset. After the tragedy that is Long Halloween, we come in and we find a very dark Batman who has ignored Gordon. He's even pushing Alfred aside. I mean, he failed with Harvey Dent. He's a guy who's like, I walk a lonely path. I'm now a loner. This is it. And that story, that's why Robin coming into it is so important to it, because the lesson he learns is I can't do this alone.
Well, and it's not only Batman that's doing that. You've got Harvey and Gilda, and that's all failed and not working, and you've got Commissioner Gordon, or Captain Gordon at the time, and his wife.
Well, he's commissioner by the time we get into Dark Victory. He's captain in Long Halloween.
But his relationship with Barbara is a large part of Dark Victory.
A large part of both of them,
and
really.
failing quite rapidly. And you've got Batman and Catwoman / Bruce and Selina that aren't working out. I mean, it's all these people that are like failing. And something I didn't bring up yet, but I'm going to bring up now, which is not needed to be said, but here it comes, is...
Let's give this more setup, Donovan.
Two-Face is such a pivotal character in both. I mean, I know he comes out at the end of Long Halloween, but in both. And the dichotomy, like there's dichotomy, which is sets of twos, which is awesome. It's published in 2 indispensable sort of volumes, and you've got Batman and Catwoman. You've got, I mean, you see what I'm saying? Like everything comes in twos in this, and it's just like another just like cherry on top. It's so good. It's so rich. This is a comic that every time I read it, I'm like, I feel like I know it more and more and more, and I don't always get that with some comics.
No, it's very true.
Yeah, no, these are very rereadable in that sense.
But those are the best comics that you can point to, and it's like I've reread this dozens of times at this point, and every time I come away with like
so good.
The two thing that you just said kind of is blowing my mind right now.
Just look. I mean, next time you read it, which hopefully will be soon, like it's twos the entire way through.
Definitely meant to read. I'm still kicking myself that I didn't get around to it.
Two mob families. I mean, like everything is twos the entire time, and you're like, I wonder where Two-Face got his idea for all these sets of twos. And you're like, well, his whole life is all this, and Batman. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
two holiday killers. Oh my god! Holy shit!
It's all twos.
Yeah.
That's actually the working title was all twos. I don't know if that's
Nothing but twos.
Nothing but
and what's great about it, there's all these other things, but I mean, ultimately, this is Bruce Wayne's story. This is Batman's story, and Two-Face has always been a great villain because he's the representation of the duality that exists within Bruce Wayne. Only he's the duality gone wrong. He can't decide what he is, in a lot of ways. And this is something I want to talk about with Two-Face, which I love that Loeb takes him down the split personality path.
Oh yeah,
which is because there have been. I mean, nobody else has really done that I've seen. I mean, not in the comics they have. I guess outside of the comics, you don't see that.
I mean, the animated series did.
The animated series definitely did that, but
none
of
like
the.
Tommy Lee Jones had that.
I never saw it. No.
Okay.
I mean, he was just nuts. I don't know. Even Aaron Eckhart in Dark Knight, you don't see the split personality.
Snaps.
He just He's still Harvey Dent. He's just angry.
Yeah.
He's just a bitter man.
Just angry. That sums up that whole character.
No,
I have strong opinions, ladies and gentlemen.
There is a whole episode regarding Jonathan's
Don't worry
opinions
about
with
it. But
Dark
just know
Knight.
that I'm
We will do an
not
episode.
in favor.
We
If
will
Aaron
do-
Eckhart's listening, we
We'll-
can shake hands, but that's it.
Oh, wow. Not even
Wow.
for thank you for smoking. Are you going to go, thank you, sir?
Maybe a nod on my head.
Okay.
But nothing.
So
a
a
nod-
firm handshake and a
and a
nod
nod.
of the head.
Yeah.
And we will
Yeah.
part ways forever.
Turns out he's your neighbor now.
I don't care. You cup of sugar? I'm sorry, I don't use sugar ever.
Wow.
Mr. Eckhart.
Wow. Yeah, we'll touch on. We're going to do an episode at some point about the Nolan
First off,
trilogy. And
great idea for a sitcom with like a celebrity moves next door to a nerd who has like some beef against him for some movie he did, and so they just have this super contentious relationship. Even though the celebrity might be the nicest guy in the world, but the nerd is just like, no. You were in the Dark Knight. I'm sorry, sir. We cannot be friends.
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah.
But
It could happen.
anyway, that completely got me out of track. What was I saying about Two-Face and the
We were talking
the
about
split
how
personality?
Eckhart doesn't
Yeah.
do
With
this personality.
the split personality disorder. I mean, I really like that. I mean, throughout Dark Victory, there's this whole thing. People keep calling him Harvey, and he's like, "I'm not Harvey. I'm not Harvey Dent." There's the part where he testifies in court in Dark Victory,
And where he's turning his face.
well, no, and they say he won't respond because they're not.
Right.
They're calling him Harvey. He's not Harvey. He's Two-Face. Which is great, and I love that idea that there's Harvey and there's Two-Face. There's a different, and the animated series did maybe the best job of this by setting up numerous episodes before he's Two-Face, where he was already experiencing some kind of weird split personality.
Yeah.
That the scarring brought out whatever psychological
bad
problems.
Harv.
Yeah, is already there, and Gotham. Is addressing this as well, that there's a dark, certainly at the very least a darkness within Harvey Dent on Gotham. So yeah, I mean, this idea that they're laying the groundwork for this, and you see he
When
goes
does that show just become Batman, John?
it's like 6 years from
He's
now.
still a kid, yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like there's doing so much like groundwork already for something that's not going to pay off for years.
Yep.
Well, we don't need to get into Gotham
No,
necessarily.
I know. This is why I have a problem with the show, though. It's the biggest case of blue balls on television.
Oh wow. We'll see if that's still in the show later.
One of the greatest things about Long Halloween is you always get Two-Face's story, and you always get like, okay, we understand that he's a D and all these things, but you really see the transition in this in a way of like he's got this beautiful life and he's trying to establish a family, and the mob takes that away from him, and then his face is disfigured, and like all these things that are like crumbling.
But
you see him snap, and I really
the mob
enjoyed that.
takes it away. The mob I mean, they don't. You're talking about they take it away from him when he becomes Two-Face. I mean, he's pushed a lot of it away himself in the beginning of the comic.
Sure.
I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Almost like the animated series. he's going kind of nuts before he gets the acid in his face.
But then it's a way
That's
for
the
him to already
last straw on the camel's back.
Right.
mentally and stably, he can justify it because he's like,
Exactly.
well, it was actually the mob the whole time, and I can blame them. I mean,
Right,
that's
exactly. I mean, Harvey Dent is definitely a character who's always pointing to outside factors for his own internal issues, which is
where Batman takes everything on himself,
right
all the time, always. Right?
No, but you're right. Batman's
Everything is my fault.
Batman is a very guilt-ridden character, and that's so much of what Dark Victory is about, and why he's pushing people away is because it's just like, I can't get close to anyone because of what happened to Harvey Dent, and I'm poisoned, and this is I blame myself for this. I should have seen this coming. He keeps saying that throughout Dark Victory, like, I let this happen. I'm responsible for this. I didn't see this coming. And there's a great scene with Alfred in Dark Victory as well when he's investigating stuff, and Alfred's like, well,
Dark Victory apparently a very good book for Alfred.
yeah, there's a lot of good Alfred stuff in there, but he's talking about like Batman is being very narrowly focused, and Alfred's going, well, didn't you just tell me that you screwed up on the holiday thing? When like you need to think clearer about this stuff, and Batman's like smashing stuff around, and Batman is a mess in Dark Victory.
Well, and that's something, Gorgona, you pointed out, like, where Alfred is like, oh, man, I might have failed with Bruce. I think that's the reason Robin is in there, because Bruce is like, maybe I failed with myself, or somebody's failed me as an orphan, so now that there's this new orphan, like, I have to train him, which, of course, we know if you read further in comics is like he pushes Dick Grayson away because he's too hard on him because
that's also Dick Grayson coming to realize, oh my God, this guy's crazy.
Sure. But like, I feel like a big part of that too is like, he's a kid. And he's like, this is fun. I like being pushed hard. And then he gets older and he's like, wait a second, what's your deal? And you get Batman being like, well, I wanted you to be better than me. He's like, no, screw you. I like Bloodhaven. I like the color blue. Red's not my color, man. You don't know me at all.
But yeah, I think that further talks about what I was talking about how Dark Victory justifies this character in this way. I mean, there's a great scene where Bruce Wayne's at his parents' grave. He's talking about like, I don't know if I'm doing right by this kid, but it feels like I'm doing something. But he's unsure about like, am I ruining this kid's life or am I helping him?
The answer is yes.
Well, but
on all fronts.
I think what you see in Dark Victory. What you see in Dark Victory is not only does he recognize some of himself in Dick Grayson, he sees that Dick is going down a path that might not be good. I mean, he's going to pursue his parents' killer
regardless.
Yeah, no matter what. And if he's not careful, he could go down a really dark path. And so Bruce is going to try to help steer him in the right way, away from sort of just pointless revenge.
From becoming Harvey Dent.
Right, exactly. This idea of a character, because Batman's all about justice. He's not about revenge per se.
Right.
So, and then there's
what's that line from Dark Knight Returns? Like, if I've achieved vengeance for my parents, it would have been years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Something along those lines. Like, if Batman was out for vengeance, he would have sated that lust so long ago.
Yeah.
No, now Batman's about justice and the mission.
Yeah. No, and I think that's true. And something I was listening to an interview with Grant Morrison once where he was talking about Robin. And he was talking about how Robin represents the kid Bruce Wayne never got to be in so many ways. And that's why he's drawn into this and wanting to protect this kid. And, I mean, because Robin, even though they have these similar stories of being orphans, Robin is nowhere near as dark a character as Batman.
No.
It doesn't define him in quite the same way.
He was raised by carnival folk.
He's jovial.
Exactly.
He's got the spirit of a juggler.
Cotton candy that kid's eating.
It's just a years long sugar high.
That's right.
But no, I think
And when he comes down off of it, Nightwing.
Yeah, that's the end of the sugar high. Was that the name of the first Nightwing volume? Was End of the Sugar High?
End of the Sugar High. I think so.
Which
yeah,
is actually going to be the title of my autobiography.
End of the Sugar.
End of the Sugar High.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
But I think they're good for each other in a lot of ways in that sense.
Oh, yeah.
Batman is giving Robin a purpose, but Robin is kind of tempering Batman.
Even if Bruce doesn't necessarily appreciate Robin's quips, on a surface level, they're lightening the mood to a point where he's not becoming a murderous psychopath who beats people to death in the middle of the night wearing a bat costume.
Yeah. I love at the end of Dark Victory when Robin has the costume and Batman's like, "Are you sure you want the yellow cape?" And he's like, "Yes." Mm-hmm. It was the colors of my parents' outfit, so yes, just no questioning about it at all. But yeah, or like when you see him even before he's Robin and he's sitting on the chandelier in the center of Wayne Manor. And Alfred's like, "Get down from there." Like, "What, you afraid I'm going to fall? I've been up higher than this."
Yeah. He's really well written. Where he's funny, he's quippy, but he's also not too much of a punk. Sometimes I feel like it pushes those boundaries a little bit.
He's not Jason Todd,
but Jason Todd is like knows he's a punk, and it's just like the worst.
Yeah,
that's my opinion on Jason Todd.
If there's anything to take away from this episode, Jason Todd is the worst.
Yeah, I mean he's better after.
There
he's been
is a very good
resurrected
reason that when DC asked the public, "Hey, should he get beaten to death with a crowbar?" the vast majority of people said yes.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't wrong.
They were not wrong.
I mean, there's even times when you read Dick Grayson, you're like, okay, like we get it. And the way I think Spider-Man sometimes too, you're like, it's a little bit too quippy. Like you're really funny, you're really clever, but just like reel it back a little bit, And I don't think that happens at all.
But I think that comes back to our motto on the show, and depends who's writing it.
Sure. I think there's also something. I think there's something childlike about that too.
Yeah.
That he doesn't know when to shut up and when to be, and I think that's
he's genuine.
Yeah,
he's very genuine.
Yeah, he's an incredibly sincere character.
He's a pure soul.
He really is, though. He really is. Yeah. And
give it a couple of years.
Can we talk about one of my favorite things? Long Halloween is Bruce and Selina don't know that one another are Batman and Catwoman.
Right, and you see the equal attraction between
both of them, and they have no idea.
It's like two separate couples almost.
Exactly. And the coolest part is when like Selina will do something that's going to help Bruce, not knowing she's also helping Batman, who is secretly her lover, who she's not going to tell Bruce about because he would get mad that she's in love with somebody else and also wears a costume, but it's actually Bruce Wayne. Every time I read that, I'm like, this is so much fun. Like they don't know what they're doing, and at the same time, maybe they do. I don't know. Like you kind of get the idea that she.
Is there any point in these books in which they like, oh, she's Catwoman?
No.
Yeah, and like that definitely happened at some point.
There's a part in Dark Victory that I like a lot where they're having a conversation and she just says, "Let's just screw this, take our masks off right now, and see who's really." And he's just like, "And how do you know this information about Falcone?" And she's just like, "Oh, screw you," and runs away. There's several times in the comic where she puts herself out there to like, "I want to be with you" and stuff, and he's just like, "Yeah, I got to find this holiday killer." And she's just
Batman,
like,
you're such a rube.
And she's just like, "Screw off, Batman." Several times she jumps away, going like, "You don't know what you're missing," or whatever.
Yeah. Or it's like if they ever bother to just like take the mask off, they're like, "Oh, and we're perfect for each other."
Yeah, and that's always the fun of their relationship
true.
in so many ways. I mean, even if you look at Burton's movie Batman Returns, there's a ton of that kind of stuff in that movie with their like the parallel relationships and stuff like that.
I think even the first act of The Dark Knight Rises is really. I mean, they know pretty. Or he knows who she is early on, but that's a really the opening act of that movie is.
Well, Dark Knight Rises, it's less of a Catwoman secret identity kind of a thing.
But it's just really fun. That interaction, that bantering between Selina Kyle and Bruce Wayne is like, this is what I wanted. This is so exciting.
No, yeah.
Why weren't you in all of the movies?
No, she brings a sense
because we can't have nice things.
I know.
She brings some fun to the Batman universe. Their dialogue, their banter, that crackles with that almost like old school. Romantic comedy kind of vibe between the two of them, where
and is she good? Is she bad? Is she out for herself? Like I know that's we talked about this on the villains episode, which I hope is up by now.
Yeah,
okay, great. It would talk about like a lot of people called her a villain, which I don't think she's a villain in the strictest sense. She hangs out
an
with
anti-hero.
I mean, in this, she's very ambiguous in these comics.
Yeah.
Because she's actively working for the mob at times.
At times.
Yeah,
but you have to be.
But never
in Gotham at this time.
You have to be with the mob or you're out.
She's working with the mob, but never in like in an evil way.
It's like their family.
She's like, let me retrieve this thing that you've lost, and then like you can pay me for it.
One interesting thing that I always found about Catwoman is like, why the costume? Like she's a good enough burglar and like. Thief.
People catch her. She scratches Falcone.
Sure.
Great,
but it's like, we know what drove Bruce to put on the cowl, and like some of these other villains to become these like different personas. one thing I've never really, because I guess I haven't read enough, is like what drives Catwoman, unless we're talking Burton and then she falls into a vat of cats.
It's not a vat of cats.
It's quasi-vat cats.
No.
Pseudo-vat? Can you call it a
there's no
pseudo-vat?
vat involved, guys. How many times do I have to tell you? There's no
rhymes
vat.
with cats, though.
Vat of cats is a fun thing to say.
I want to think that Tim Burton went to the movie producers like, vat of cats? And like, He's like, okay, we'll work around this one.
Fine.
But like, what drove Selena Kyle to don her costume? I guess.
Well, this is something that's interesting, which is what version of Selena Kyle are we talking
This
about?
is true. Yeah.
Because
Depends on who's writing
who's
it.
writing it. Well, but I think
We're gonna start to hate that phrase, aren't we?
But with Catwoman,
necessary.
with Catwoman depends on who's writing it. But specifically, it's between two things. I think there's really two versions of Catwoman. There's what I'm going to call the Miller version, and then there's this or
Right.
the. I mean, and as much as I love the Miller stuff, I hate his Catwoman. I've never liked the way he's portrayed Catwoman. Particularly in Dark Knight
Frank
Returns.
Miller, the way he's portrayed a woman has been found wanting.
Yeah. You know
I don't.
But there is I don't like this idea that she's this street woman, that she's a prostitute perhaps in places. Certainly
In Dark Knight Returns,
Certainly- well,
she, straight up runs a brothel, doesn't
yeah,
she?
I mean, yeah, she's not necessarily, she's a madam in that, if you will. But I mean, certainly.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, she's not hooking. She's just
like a pimp.
sending her. Yeah, she's a madam. Let's keep it sophisticated. All right,
I'm sorry.
not a pimp.
She doesn't have a grill.
Yeah, she's not smacking any hookers around or anything. But I really like this version of her, where she's of the upper crust, like Bruce Wayne, but how her background in it is mysterious and stuff like that.
They don't go super deep in it, but have you guys read Neil Gaiman's Whatever Happened to the Cape Crusader?
Yeah,
Have you read that, Gargoni?
Nope.
That is one of my favorite banters between Batman and Catwoman. I love Neil Gaiman. I think he's a delightful human being. So the delightful banter between Batman and
Neil
Selena
Gaiman,
Kyle.
delightful human being.
Yeah,
That's the name of his biography.
I think that's his business card. It just says Neil Gaiman.
yeah, delightful human being. Yeah.
But it's a single issue of
Yeah.
of funeral for Batman and who comes and all. It's awesome. It's really great. But the banter there, kind of over the years with Batman and Catwoman is.
Yeah,
Sorry, you were
but-
talking about the two quintessential. I think
Yeah.
Personally,
well, because
we're talking about it.
at the end of Dark Victory, I mean, she's Falcone's daughter, is she not?
Yes.
I mean, it's more than. I mean, it's
Yeah.
She doesn't come out and say that, but
Yeah.
she talks about the money he gave her to. I mean, and that's the other thing I like about her: the idea that she has money and she's still stealing stuff.
Right.
I mean, and then when you
Very
talk,
Robin Hood.
so when you're talking about the costume and stuff, I'm like, my vision of Catwoman, it's fun to her. It's a thrill, and I'm going to put on a costume because that's fun.
Sure.
Like there's this thing that is just like she's just doing it for the thrill of it, and she likes flirting with Batman and stuff like that. I mean, like it's just she's this woman very much driven by how much fun it is to be Catwoman.
Well, in the Jeff Loeb stuff, it's fun, and in the Frank Miller stuff, she likes to be kinky, and that's where you get that weird scuzzy.
Once
kinda
again,
line
very
of,
very Miller-like.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's a big difference too. Is like
I think that sound you just made is how I read a lot of the Miller stuff. Where I'm like, ugh. Particularly some of the stuff with her in Dark Knight Returns. I'm just like, okay, all right.
flip the page,
I
flip
got
the
you.
page,
I see.
And we're to the Joker.
and there we go. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, I think
Who's also very scuzzy and kinky, and
but
in
he,
the
yeah, but as he should be. That fits that character quite a bit for me.
we're okay with the Joker being scuzzy, but not Catwoman.
I mean, we could turn a whole episode into like Miller's weird portrayals of like his portrayal of Catwoman or his weird effeminate version of the Joker or his like. Okay, we could do a Psych 101 on
but we're
Frank Miller. Let's
for sure. Let's get back to Loeb
Yeah.
and Sale.
Well, if we're going to talk about Catwoman,
Yeah.
should we also talk about a slight in between
Oh, the Loeb Sale Catwoman comic.
Catwoman?
Yeah,
One in Rome.
called Win in Rome, which takes place, I believe, during the events of Dark Victory.
Yeah.
If I know.
and I have not read this one, so
because there's a part in Dark Victory where Catwoman
Takes off.
Yeah, takes off for several months.
Essentially, the Riddler and Catwoman go on a siesta or a little sojourn to Italy.
sure.
and it's
Yeah.
really fun. I wish
I want to read it. It's sitting right in front of me, so I
it's
intend to
a
read
really
it.
fun comic. It's awesome. It's not as well known as these two.
No.
But it's a fun little like side story
But if
within Dark Victory.
But if you've read Long Halloween and Dark Victory and you don't know that exists,
Definitely
it's really
check it
fun,
out.
and it kind of gives another chunk of that story. That
Yeah,
you're
because
missing.
I mean, she kind of explains in the comic when she comes back what she was doing a bit, but this makes it clear, and it's a fun Catwoman story. It's probably my
Also,
favorite Catwoman
more stuff
story.
by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because we can never have enough of that.
That's true, and they don't really make stuff together anymore. So
Oh. Is there a reason for that?
just
busy.
yeah, Loeb doesn't really
Sure.
write comics anymore,
I
and
don't
Sale
know.
doesn't really draw comics anymore.
What does he do these days?
Mainly covers. He has not actively been the artist on anything in years.
See, if they lived in Portland, they'd own a food cart.
I believe Sale lives in Seattle, though.
Oh, really? What's his address, Grigani? Do you have
3469
Okay.
Southwest. No, I have no
Wait, he
idea.
lives in the same street that Brian Michael Bendis does, but just in Seattle? How does that work?
Well, everywhere has a Southwest, and then I don't know.
3649.
But yeah, I mean, definitely his art fits Loeb's writing so well in the sense that so I mean, all their stuff, like anytime those guys did anything, it was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I want to know
Some
what
of
their
the great
conversations
stuff.
are like.
Well, what's interesting is they don't spend a lot of time together.
Well,
It's
'cause
mostly
you're not-
done over the phone because Loeb is an LA guy.
Yeah.
And Sale is up here. I mean, Sale, I believe, did live in Portland for a while.
I just feel like
I mean, he's
you
a
know,
Northwest
you hear,
guy.
You hear stories about like, oh, I'm the writer and this is my idea, and the guy who's doing the art. Like, we have to have serious conversations about what's going on.
Yeah.
I can't imagine Tim Sale sending me anything.
That is an approach, and one of the better approaches. The other approach that we see a lot in comic books is the writer writes a thing, the artist draws a thing, and yeah.
But what I'm saying is, like, I can't imagine Tim Sale would ever send me anything, and I'd be like, well, we need to make some amendments here. I would just, like, drool and be like, well, I guess it's okay.
Yeah.
You know,
Whatever you think,
try
man.
harder
Whatever you
next
think.
time. It's just a paycheck. It's just a paycheck.
Yeah, Tim Sale, could you please do a better job?
From
Like, I can't imagine that happening. You know, like, what are their conversations like?
you can listen to an interview with Loeb on Kevin Smith's podcast, Fat Man on Batman, where he talks about that he would just get on the phone with Sale and be like, here's what I think was going to happen in this issue. They'd be on the phone for a long time, and he's
Sure,
just like,
sure.
then this happens, and Batman
Like
does
any
this, and
like cooperative creative
Yeah.
endeavor, I feel like if they're both invested in what's going
Right.
on, they're going to be these long conversations. They don't necessarily have to be in a coffee shop together.
yeah.
No, of course.
But like hours long conversations
Right.
over the phone about what's going on.
Right.
Like-
maybe not on a panel by panel basis,
No, but then
Alan Moore style. You hear stories about him just like, here's 96 pages for the first 23 pages. Read this over.
because of the time they were writing this, Sale would draw it and mail it to Loeb.
Sure.
The art. So
Oh.
And
wow.
then the postal system failed, and we don't have that anymore. Is that
Yeah.
right?
there's a whole 6 issues that happen between these two books that don't exist.
yep.
Really?
Postal error.
Damn
Oh my
postal
gosh.
service.
Does that exist anymore?
No,
They
thank
still-
God we rooted that out.
That's what I thought.
The Postal
Yeah.
Service?
Yeah, we got rid of that years ago, right?
Right. My bills say otherwise, but okay.
Oh, Kevin
you?
Costner brought it back.
You probably.
Postman reference. Wow.
The first of many, I hope.
Yeah, we're recommending that, right?
Sure. Why not? Go see Kevin Costner's Postman. If you got nothing to do and you're halfway through your third beer.
The tagline of that movie.
It's good stuff. We're talking about the Loeb sales stuff. Something I was going to say that was interesting is Loeb started as a screenwriter.
I mean, that doesn't shock me.
And now
movie.
he's back to
He's not-
creative stuff.
Yeah.
for
I mean, he's
film
produced
and television.
Executive producing all of the Marvel.
television shows and stuff. But do you know what movies Loeb wrote? He wrote 2 very well-known movies in the 1980s.
Know these, and I have forgotten these.
I'm going to go with Batman.
No.
Then I have no idea.
You're
Shot in the dark.
You're gonna tell me, I'm gonna be like, oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
they're very odd. He wrote Commando, the Arnold Schwarzenegger film.
Okay.
Yep.
And he wrote one of my favorites, Teen Wolf.
Oh,
I knew Teen Wolf. I didn't know
Teen
Commando.
Wolf.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. He wrote Teen Wolf and Commando.
I
comes out
really
a
want to
lot in
read
Long
his
Halloween.
original script of Teen Wolf. I want to see what that is.
What that was, it was a very dark horror.
Commando, clearly a paycheck.
I think Teen Wolf led to Commando, if I'm not mistaken.
I want
but,
him to,
Take a seat. Lifting up the. Oh my
just
god.
like the
that's
idea.
not. That's Suburban
Oh,
Commando.
I apologize.
This is not the first time I've heard you screw these two movies up.
I apologize. That is one is a Hulk Hogan movie, one is a Schwarzenegger movie.
Yeah.
I apologize for mixing up two dumb action movies.
because
How dare you? Commando's a
Schwarzenegger
great
and
movie.
Hogan are
Let's not conflate these movies.
so different. They're nothing alike. One's
No.
shrimpy, one's big.
Yeah.
One talks like this, the other one talks like this.
Yeah, very different.
Very, very different. But we'll have to save that for the episode about Schwarzenegger and Hogan that we'll do.
See, now I'm going to go
in 8
on the
years.
internet and track down all of the comic books featuring characters based on Hulk Hogan.
Are there many?
I don't know. Let's find
I'm
out.
sure there are Hulk Hogan comics.
There have to be.
WWE made some-
Hulkamania was a thing, Donovan.
Yeah.
I'm guessing there were comic
I
books
mean, I remember.
that were part of the mania.
I remember. Part of the mania. A small fraction of the mania.
Yeah, a small fraction of it.
Yeah.
No, but so and also another thing about Loeb, he was going to be the showrunner on the abandoned Buffy animated series.
Oh
Buffy the
man,
Vampire Slayer
I remember
animated series.
seeing like that opening clip of what that was supposed to be and being just like, "Oh, this would be so cool."
Yeah, Loeb would have been the showrunner on that.
Oh, that would have been sweet.
Yeah.
But now he's kind of like executive producing all of the Marvel stuff. Yeah.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
So I mean, he's
Is that movies and television? Do we know?
No, it's just television.
television. He's in charge of Marvel Television.
I see his
He is-
name on Agent Carter.
He is
Come
the
on.
guy, and I mean, he's the television guy there.
so he's on Agent Carter. He's on Agents of Shield. Is he on all of the Netflix shows as well?
I think so. Yeah,
That's awesome.
I mean, I can't speak for that for sure, but I believe that's
he-
under the television umbrella.
Besides the
He's
colors,
the Feige of their television.
Sure.
division.
has he written, besides the Colors trilogy, has he spent much time at Marvel writing stuff?
Oh yeah. I mean, he wrote Hulk, which we've talked about on
Oh,
here
yeah.
before. He wrote Nova for a while. He wrote
track that down.
Ultimates, Who Killed Scarlet Witch. That was him.
Oh yeah, the Ultimates 3. Yeah.
Ultimatum was him.
Wait, he wrote Who
Yeah.
Killed Scarlet Witch? That's
Yeah.
one of my favorites. I had no idea.
That's him. Yeah.
Ultimatum. That was a thing.
So he's kind of a controversial thing. We'll talk about that more when we
Sure.
do an Ultimates episode.
We very well could.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely be doing an
It
episode
will
about
mostly
the
be Ultimate Spider-Man.
So anyway, back to Batman.
Oh.
What were we talking about?
I mean, yeah,
On
Batman,
topic.
hooray!
Jeff
Yeah.
Loeb.
Oh, to Batman. I don't know if you. I
was
think
just
we're gonna
not-
have to reconsider your place on this podcast.
Oh, I apologize for
Just
being.
further away. We want to hear you, but just slightly less.
Yeah,
How's this? Is that better?
It's better. Thank you.
yeah, that's nice. Especially
Hooray, Batman! Can I come back
Now
now?
people have to strain
I
to listen
guess.
to you. Yeah, come back.
Okay, I'm back.
you are on the
Thank
thinnest
you.
of ice, sir.
Just like that one scene in Batman.
That's
Sure.
right.
So what else do we want to say
Death
about
by
these?
exile.
Yeah, what else do we want to say about these
Well,
stalwarts?
Well, we didn't talk about
One is blue and one is red.
That's true.
Well, this printing.
true.
John, we talked before about what led to this pairing doing such a large scale, and that was the Haunted Night Halloween.
Yeah, they Haunted Night is
Specials.
the collection
Specials.
of their. They had prior to this, Loeb and Sale had done 3 Halloween specials of Batman. This was after they had come on the scene with a comic called Challengers of the Unknown, where they sort of threw these two guys characters nobody cared about, which are the Challengers of the Unknown.
Sure.
Yeah, because everybody famous DC character. But if you read the Loeb and Sale
You
Challengers of
watch
the
it
Unknown,
2 years from now, they'll be the next Guardians of the Galaxy.
probably. Why not?
That'd be cool.
If you read the Loeb and Sale Challenges of the Unknown comic, though, it's really good. And that got them to do some Batman specials, which eventually led to this. And obviously, I mean, it's no coincidence that this is the long Halloween, that it starts and ends, I believe, on Halloween.
Right.
That comes out of their work in what's now been collected as Haunted Night.
Right.
Which
So.
is cool. It's a fun.
Like if you didn't
They're
know any
fun
better,
little
you
short
would
stories.
you would read the first issue of Long Halloween and be like, "Oh, this is just another Halloween special." And then, what issue 2?
Right. Yeah, exactly. It keeps going.
and obviously,
And they're huge. I mean, they're 13 issues apiece, and Dark Victory also has a prologue, so it's not really another issue, but it's
Sure.
one thing we haven't also brought up, obviously, is that it follows through the events of holidays throughout the year.
yeah.
Super awesome, and legitimizes the Calendar Man.
Oh, Calendar Man.
Yeah,
Who
we haven't talked
before
about
this
Calendar
was,
Man,
like,
who's very important to this.
I think I've heard him described as the Hannibal Lecter, sort of like helping the police kind of crazy.
He has a very Hannibal Lecter-like role in Long Halloween.
Because you're like, oh, he's helpful and he's smart, but do we trust him?
Right.
And
He's
he's behind glass the whole time.
Yeah, he's very
Which is like,
creepy
you don't put
and
normal
dangerous.
people behind glass.
Yeah.
Like, not bars. He's behind what I
Glass.
assume is bulletproof glass.
Well, and then
and we still give him calendars.
when you get to Dark Victory, across the hall from him is the Holiday Killer. Mm-hmm. And
Which one?
Alberto Falcone.
Oh, yeah.
But
Just had to clarify. It wasn't me.
This
I
whole
wasn't
idea
there.
that the calendar man
I mean,
is
I
pissed off that Holiday is taking kind of his thing.
Sure, he's stealing
My
his
thing
rep. Yeah.
is the dates on the calendar.
It's like if someone other than the Riddler started leaving riddles.
How dare you? You got to have your own thing if you're going to be a
trying to
Gotham
remember-
villain.
It's limericks.
In-
It's limericks that you
I don't know how many times you've read
The Limericker?
The limericker, yeah, he leaves like fragments of limericks, and you put them together to form clues.
I'm trying to remember in Dark Knight Strikes Again. Is there a scene where somebody kills the Calendar Man?
There might be. That does sound familiar, but I
So I
haven't
feel
read
like
it in a
that
long
might be
time.
like a super intentional dig at Long Halloween and Dark Victory.
Knowing Miller, sure. No, Miller's never let his personal feelings affect one of his comics. I like it. This is the arc of our podcast. We went from trashing Alan Moore in the beginning of
No,
the podcast
We've been
to
bouncing back and forth between these two basically the whole time.
tearing into these
Who,
guys.
a lot of their work we really respect.
Absolutely.
We just don't understand everything that they do all
Yeah,
the time. always.
sometimes they make strange decisions.
Yes.
Sometimes and
the nicest
lately
way to
more frequently. So
Yeah,
More frequently.
more frequently. We feel like there's maybe a trend happening.
Yeah.
We want to time travel back.
If Alan Moore could time travel, I think he already would have.
He wrote Doctor Who for a while.
It's true.
He's got a TARDIS.
Yeah. We've already established
Right.
that on this show. Yeah.
Your theory that every writer for Doctor Who
What
had
if Alan Moore? Okay, I know that this is a side thing. What if he was like the 13th Doctor Who? What if we just saw him? And by saw him,
Whoa.
I mean it's an empty TARDIS for 3 seasons. And
First
we don't
off,
see him.
first Doctor with a beard.
Is that true?
I mean, if you don't count the War Doctor.
Yeah.
We can't not count the War Doctor.
Yeah, some people don't.
That's the whole point of the 50th anniversary special.
Yeah.
Just that he matters, but whatever. That's not. That's for our Doctor Who podcast.
Doctor Who cast.
Yeah.
And of course,
That
Sylvester
must be taken.
Sylvester
Oh, it has to.
McCoy
Who cast?
became, Radagast the Brown. So that's kind of a later Doctor Who. Radagast the Brown is Sylvester McCoy, who is
Sure.
Doctor
Yeah,
number
yeah.
7. Yeah, 7.
Yeah, the 10th Doctor's also in one of those movies too.
What?
Yeah, David Tennant's in the third one.
Third what?
The Hobbit?
Well, oh no, I'm sorry. Never mind.
You're thinking
I
Harry
just
Potter.
conflated Hobbit and Harry Potter.
Yes, John, they both have wizards.
Whatever. It's all this fantasy shit, man. I don't care.
All this fantasy shit. Let's get back to talking about Batman,
Yeah,
shall
I
we?
like the real stuff.
So Solomon Grundy, this corpse that got back to life.
Actually,
It's
I'm
awesome.
I'm going to make this into a transition because this is something I want to talk about. Because Nolan took a lot from Long Halloween. I mean, these are more realistic than a lot of Batman comics. However,
Some of Batman
Few
comics.
exceptions.
However, they do have characters like Solomon Grundy.
Yes.
Although, I mean, how over the top is Solomon Grundy in this comic per se? He's a crazy guy who lives in the sewers.
Sure, we never really go into his quasi mystical background at all.
Somebody-
other than like maybe he's a walking corpse. We're not sure.
Somebody suggests the idea
He's
that he's
got a
died
rhyme.
before.
and
that goes with it.
there is some like parts of these books was like he should not be alive anymore. Based on what happened to Solomon Grundy here.
Yeah, but I mean, I would say like him, Mr.
But he's no,
Freeze
like-
is
Mr.
about
Freeze
as
is pretty
crazy.
fantastical.
He's not that fantastic.
He's a man with a freeze ray.
I mean,
I like
What
the
I'm saying
definition
is-
of not that fantastical is man with a freeze
well,
ray.
well,
AKA Dr. Horrible.
well, no, follow me on. I mean, conceivably,
You're not
someone could figure out how to build a freeze. ray.
yes.
Conceivably, because he's a technology based villain.
Sure.
Conceivably,
So what
somebody
I'm
could
saying
get
is
bitten
he
by a
purposely
radioactive
stays away
spider.
from characters like Ra's al Ghul, Killer Croc, Clayface.
Ooh, Clayface.
I mean, I'm saying that these are characters who are not present. I mean, Poison Ivy's pretty out there too.
True.
Just hair of leaves,
Yeah,
John.
that's what I'm saying.
In
But
fact, this like interpretation of Poison Ivy is one of the more out there ones.
It's true. But I'm saying,
At least visually.
it's interesting how realistic much of it is, and then there are these little things that are kind of fantastical throughout it.
Joker's dental work alone.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, there's certainly Sale's art style,
Yeah.
but I mean, like the Joker is the existence of the Joker is not impossible.
No.
His teeth
Just
are-
throw a man in a vat of jokes.
A vat of anything will just change.
Well,
it.
yeah, most of these villains are
if
vat
Tim Burton-
based.
I feel like most Batman villains are vat based.
Yeah, especially Vatman.
Yes, the arch nemesis.
Yeah, he was the worst.
We don't
Fell
get,
into a vat of vats.
we don't get any of the other fantastical. We don't get any of the other fantastical Batman villains. We don't get Man Bat.
No.
right? We don't. Get, what? Don't laugh at Man
What are you
Bat.
laughing at Man Bat for?
But how often do we get Man Bat in any story?
He's in some of my favorite Batman stuff.
Man Bat is in the pilot of the animated series.
Sure, and that's fine, but he's not a recurring villain in the animated series.
Because Batman
He's
figures it
there
out.
here and there.
He's like,
He's in like 2 episodes.
can't
tops.
get pharmaceuticals anymore. Sorry, buddy.
If you've read,
And what is some of your favorite Batman that features Man Bat?
So there is a collection of Batman stories that I'm blanking on the name right now.
Uh-huh.
But it's Man Bat
Sure.
is number 1.
Okay.
It's like Batman's first year, and it's Man Bat and Poison Ivy. I want to say the Riddler, and I can't remember the 4th. But the Man Bat story in that is so good.
I love Man Bat.
He's deaf, and he's like wants to be a concert musicianist. And
I
he,
don't know
like-
this origin.
You don't know this story?
Nah,
it's
this is not the one I know.
Oh my gosh, that's my favorite.
I know
one.
the scientist who's trying to cure deafness.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, Dr.
It's been a
Kirk
long
Langstrom.
time. Anyways,
if you read,
I feel like
if you want to read good Man Bat, read
Oh, I am dying to read good Man Bat, John.
no, read John Layman's Detective Comics run that just happened in the New 52. There's quite a bit of Man Bat in there.
Oh, okay.
Man Bat,
and it's John
is
Layman who writes
awesome.
Chew, which is
Yeah,
awesome.
no,
And Gorgoni, I'm not sure if you realize this, but Batman and Man Bat are the same. Like you just take
Oh
the
my
words
God!
and you switch
What?
them.
No.
Just think about that.
No,
for a
Donovan, I
second.
got that. That's why it's dumb.
No.
Well, that's
this changes everything. For
No,
me. I
John,
had
it
no
literally
idea.
changes
I had
nothing.
no idea.
No, John,
Yeah,
keep
I
it
had
together.
no
you
idea.
can just ruminate on that for a
No,
while.
no,
no.
John, that's why I'm saying it's dumb.
This is brilliant.
He's so cool. He's like a big. He's a literal.
He's some
bat.
kind of Man Bat?
He's some kind of.
He's a
Man
Dr.
Bat.
Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of villain.
There are better Batman villains that are that.
I'm just saying he
guess.
doesn't appear in Long Halloween, and I'm saying that's the biggest mistake of the whole comic.
Okay.
That was a
Invalidates the entire thing.
That was
Sure.
a joke. But yeah, I don't even read this anymore. Once I was like, Man Bat's not in here. Ring, ring, ring. Jeff, you can consider me no longer a fan.
On
I
a
want
first name
Man Bat.
basis with Mr. Loeb, are we?
Not anymore. If he moved in on the other side of me or other side of Aaron Eckhart, we wouldn't have any conversations.
Oh wow, you were alienating so many
second
people.
season of that TV show is like another celebrity that you like have a grudge against.
I've reconciled
And then
things with
The
Eckhart.
2 celebrities who live on either side of you, best friends.
Yeah,
Oh, I like that. I was
You're
going to
just
say I
getting
reconcile
increasingly
things
more
with the
upset
first
throughout
one,
the show.
and then the next one moves in.
Right. And so they're best friends, but now you don't like Aaron's new friend.
Menage a trois with or menage a hatred, or a
Yeah, that's how that works.
Hatred a trois. I don't know how that.
I don't know.
I don't speak French.
Yeah, me neither. As established on the show. Anything else you guys want to talk about in relation to these two?
I covered a lot of it.
Man Bat is the final thought.
Man Bat is our final thought. That's depressing.
I mean,
Nobody's listening by this point. Are you still there, listeners?
Hello? we can't hear you.
I wouldn't have blamed you for leaving with the whole Man Bat thing. I wanted to leave.
You really hate Man Bat.
I just think it's a dumb bad guy.
I like Man Bat.
I really like Man Bat.
This is why I agreed to talk about these issues of Batman.
Because they were Man Bat-less?
They were sans Man Bat.
So we talk about like Bruce Wayne becoming what he fears a little bit,
Yeah.
right? And it's bats. Now imagine a 7-foot bat, Gorgoni. That's terrifying. It's like getting into his.
Now let me ask you this: in John Layman's
Stop
run,
trying to sell me on Man Bat.
in John Layman's run, Army of Man Bats.
Oh, good.
my gosh.
Multiple
That's
Man
Batman's
Bats.
worst nightmare.
That is literally Batman's worst nightmare.
Aside from Alfred being the one who killed his parents. I think those are the two that keep him up at night. Slash up at day because he.
I just like the idea of Bruce Wayne like in his bed just going like, "Where was Alfred when that happened? Wait a minute, he had no alibi."
We need to
Oh my
write
God.
that. We should write that
I feel
comic.
like
Let's
I've
just
seen
blow
that
up
as
the
like-
Batman
the
universe.
whole time. Nobody's going to read the comic we make anyways.
That's a good reason to do something. No one's going to read this anyway, so we can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about this podcast, John.
No one's listening. We can just say whatever we want. We've talked about Man-Bat for more than we've talked about these two comics.
Please,
so.
let's move on from Man-Bat.
No, is there anything else you guys want to say about this?
No.
No.
I'm sorry, you killed it with Man-Bat.
You know, just the whole... We've soured you on the concept of Batman.
Because it might also spell Man-Bat.
Here's what we need to finish with. We need to finish with, we recommend both of these.
Oh,
Everything.
so
Absolutely.
And,
of the
and we
highest.
recommend that you read them, and I'm speaking for the group here, right back to back. Because I, the first time, had space between Long Halloween and Dark Victory.
Me too.
It was good, but man, they go right on the heels of
This
each
was
other.
the first time I've read them, immediately picked up Dark Victory after Long Halloween.
It's like
I've
Kill
never read
Bill
them
1
I've
and
only
2.
ever read them
Should be
just
together.
straight back to back.
When I read Long Halloween, I didn't know about Dark Victory.
Me too.
I definitely remember, like, when I was initially getting into comic books and starting to build my collection, people were like, where's a good Batman to start out with? And that's what I'd recommend these comics for, is if you want to start people off in, like, where do you point people to start reading Batman? These are great comics
Long
to do it
Halloween,
with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was something I just discovered. Just found it in the library.
Really?
And I was like, what's this? I don't know. And I would read anything that had Batman on it.
Sure.
When I was like in middle school, and I just ran into this by accident, and then later found Dark Victory there and saw that it was Loeb and Sale. Because I had read Hush.
Ooh.
So I knew Loeb.
Loeb and Lee.
Yeah, which is also a great Batman
I
comic.
love that. Great detective stuff. Thank you, Jeff Loeb.
Yeah. Bit more fantastical.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
But also-
Superman's part of that. So.
He's
And-
not fantastical.
And Ra's al Ghul.
Yes.
They're both in that.
That's
Anyway,
right.
read that too.
And I'm sorry, I was just thinking back to how much I love that
Yeah.
graphic novel.
But yeah. Obviously, we recommend these highly.
Oh, yeah.
To go check them out. But let's turn now to recommending comics that are not these two in our recommendation segment.
Recommendations. That's
That's
song.
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a good song.
All right.
Thank you.
That's good. We can probably just stop the show.
Who do
now.
you-
John, what's your recommendations?
One of my recommendations is Batman related, and it's a new
You're
collection.
very good with these themes.
Yeah,
I know I do. That sounds sarcastic, but I appreciate it because my stuff is way out of left field.
No,
I'm baffled.
There's a collection that DC just put out called Gordon of Gotham. That's a collection of 3 separate miniseries focused on Commissioner Gordon.
Cool.
And so it's by a variety of writers and artists. And it's just
Kind of
really
got a Gotham Central flavor to it.
Yeah, if you miss Gotham Central, check these out. They're I think they're all from the 90s. They're really cool. A couple of them are by Denny O'Neil, who's a great Batman writer. And yeah, they're just cool, hard-boiled cop stories.
Happen to have some Batman flavor.
Batman pops in it, but Batman's not in them that much.
Yeah.
Kind of like Gotham Central, but it's Gordon-centric, badass Gordon. Really cool stuff. The other thing I would recommend...
Love his mustache.
I'm
Yeah.
so excited on Gotham for that mustache to start coming in. That's,
We're waiting for the mustache
before
episode.
Batman comes up, I want to see that mustache.
Yep, for sure.
Something drives him to the mustache.
Yeah.
The other comic I would recommend is the current run of Black Widow, which is by Nathan Edmondson with art by Phil Noto. It's so good. It's just really awesome espionage stuff with Black Widow.
I've gotten a
kicking ass.
little bit of Black Widow with the new Secret Avengers stuff, but I've never read a ton of her.
definitely
solo stuff.
definitely check out the current solo stuff with her.
Cool.
It's really awesome. She's kind of working privately in it, but also for Shield. Like she can get pulled back into stuff.
Of course.
But then there's lots of cool crossovers with Daredevil and Punisher and
Yeah.
a bunch of other stuff.
You're
It's
saying it's a Marvel book.
yeah, it's a really solid Marvel book.
Yeah.
Grigoni, what have you got?
Well, like always, I'm not going to say like always, but like has been the trend of late, I'm bringing in a webcomic.
What?
Because I feel like they're underrepresented.
A what
and
comic?
A internet comic.
Intern.
Where do you find those?
On the internet.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
They put
like us.
They put comics on
Is
the
that
internet
the
now.
thing that Al Gore invented?
Yes. It's a series of tubes.
Al Gore's the internet
Al Gore is
now
the
brings us
internet.
comics.
What?
And people talking about comics. But
Who's
this,
talking about comics on the internet?
We are.
I don't
This
know,
is
John.
not a radio show.
No, this is broadcast. Late night radio.
Yeah, late night too.
But this particular comic is called Paranatural. It is written and drawn by Zach Morrison.
Cool.
It is kind of a supernatural coming of age story sort of thing.
Okay.
It's been running for a couple of years now. It's a lot of fun, kind of cartoony humor about these middle school, elementary school age kids with having to deal with supernatural like ghost threats.
Okay.
And
Ghostbusters: The Teenage Years.
yeah, a little bit. But they've all got like weird supernatural entities that are bound to them, and they can harness them via like specific weapons and stuff.
Okay.
There's this whole canon going on. One of the reasons I rep webcomics so much is because they can do a lot of really cool original world building that you don't necessarily see in, well, especially not mainstream comics. But these guys who are left to their own devices create these awesome, fantastical worlds, and Paranatural is a great example
Yeah, I
of
mean,
that.
they don't have to answer to anybody for. So, I mean, obviously, anything they're doing
Yeah,
is
exactly.
probably going to be pretty.
And that can be found at paranatural.net.
Oh,
Cool.
now give us some money.
No, don't do that. Just keep making the comic. I love it.
Yeah. We'll take that too.
I don't read the comics, so give us some money. No, I'm sure it's good.
John,
I'm
you're
sure
the
it's good.
worst.
Yeah, no, I just want money. If I didn't get into podcasting for the money, why did I get
okay.
into it?
The big money, John.
Donovan, what do you got?
Well, this is not current, but I read Wolverine, Enemy of the State, and then Wolverine, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. by Mark Millar, illustrated by John Romita.
Oh,
John Romita Senior or Junior?
I don't remember.
I'm assuming John Romita Jr.
I'm gonna guess
because he's the illustrator that I know, unless his father
Did
also.
his father illustrate John?
John Romita was one of the great Marvel artists of all time,
Oh,
going
yes.
back to the
Okay.
Stan Lee era and
Well-
stuff. It's probably Junior.
Well,
I'm
shit.
assuming it's
I
Junior.
mean, they
'cause
did
this was not
Kick-Ass together. as
Junior.
Well. Yeah, he and Junior. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Junior's done some.
You don't know Romita Senior?
Apparently not. I know Romita Jr. from all
Would
my
we
favorite
be
Hulk
lying
stuff.
to you? You just think we're playing with you, John?
I'm just shocked. He's such a legend.
He thinks we don't know.
I mean, there's a
Romita
reason he's
Sr.
John
is.
Romita Jr. when you see him credited.
Yeah, and I just assume because that's
I don't
his name.
remember that attached to it. Maybe-
Generally, you don't throw that on unless your father is also a luminary in the field of some sort.
What if your last name was Junior? Middle name Romita.
There you go, John Romita Jr. He's one of those three name guys.
I don't know what to tell you, John. I apologize for this gap of knowledge.
All right.
Anyways, it's
Just
super
get ready for the comments.
super awesome Wolverine hand Hydra story where he goes to Japan for reasons of his heart, and hand
As he always does.
takes over, and he thrashes about and takes out people left and right as Wolverine does, and you kind of get Elektra and some of the other supers, Daredevil, Fantastic Four. People are trying to take him down, have no idea what's going on, and his like brain control.
How does that work out for them?
Wolverine's pretty tenacious. He's tenacious. Let's call it that. But it's
tough.
It's awesome. And
He's
then
a tough guy.
And then the
Tough nut to crack, Wolverine.
the follow up with him kind of dealing with some of that. Anyways, it's super awesome. It's super great. And also, I think it's the second one that has one of my favorite Wolverine mini stories, like at the back, like a kind of a special of him in World War II concentration camp. I won't go into that any further, but it's super, super great.
Definitely check it out.
Yeah. You guys have not read that? Either of those?
I am aware.
read-
like I said, I'm aware of these
I
comics.
read
have not
Enemy of the
them.
State. I haven't read Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. I need to check that out.
Okay, cool. Well, get back to me.
Very cool. So those are recommendations, and as always, we recommend you subscribe to us on iTunes as well.
Yeah.
You can also follow us on Twitter at Panel on Panels, and you can like us on Facebook. We're also Panel on Panels on there. Or if you want to be a little bit more old-fashioned, send us an email. We are panelonpanels@gmail.com.
I love that email is old fashioned.
Yeah, we don't even talk about mailing address.
P.O. Box 3469.
If you want to be
Southwest.
Morse code.
We're right
to-
we're right next to Brian Michael Bendis, and then on the other side is Tim Sale. So for Panel on Panels, I remain John Campbell.
I am currently Mike Gergoni.
And I will always be Donovan Eilert.
Keep reading comics, everyone, and remember, #Archie is our stalwart.
Archie is our stalwart.